Aaron was an engineer on a frontier station that floated quietly at the edge of human space. The station was not large or rich, but it was busy. It connected many travel routes, so ships from different planets often stopped there for rest, trade, or repair. Aaron had lived there for years, fixing machines, repairing ships, and solving problems that others could not handle. He was known as the quiet man who worked more with tools than with words. People trusted him because his work never failed. The station itself was old. Its walls carried scratches from space debris, and its corridors echoed with the hum of life support systems. Merchants shouted in the market hall. Children from different species ran through the corridors, and travelers told stories of faraway worlds. For Aaron, this was home. He did not search for adventure. He simply liked to build, repair, and improve. One day, when a cargo ship arrived from a distant colony, Aaron noticed someone unusual among the passengers. It was a woman with pale skin that shimmered faintly under the lights. Her eyes were silver, and her movements were slow but graceful. She wore a long cloak that covered most of her body. Many people looked at her but quickly turned away. Aaron could tell that she was not only a stranger, but someone carrying a heavy past. When she reached the market, she tried to pick up a heavy box of supplies. The cloak slipped from her shoulder, and Aaron saw the truth. Her left arm ended just below the elbow. She had no hand. She tried to lift the box with one arm, but it slipped and fell to the ground. The noise made others glance, then look away again. No one helped. In this busy place, people often ignored what they did not understand. Aaron walked closer. He picked up the box and placed it gently on a counter. The woman looked at him with guarded eyes, as if she expected him to speak words of pity or mockery. But Aaron simply asked, "Do you need this moved anywhere?" Her silver eyes studied him. She nodded once. "Yes, to that stall." Her voice was quiet, almost soft like wind. Aaron carried the box for her. He did not speak more, and she did not thank him, but he noticed that she seemed surprised. Perhaps she was used to being ignored. Perhaps she was used to carrying her burden alone. During the next days, Aaron saw her again in the station corridors. She always wore her cloak, always moved carefully, and always tried to do things alone, even when it was difficult. She carried water, cleaned her small rented room, and tried to repair a broken tool with one hand. Aaron watched from a distance. He did not feel pity. Instead, he felt curiosity. How did she manage so much with only one hand? And why was she here, far from her home? One evening, the engineer found her sitting in the quiet corner of the dining hall. The hall was almost empty, only a few workers finishing their meals. She sat alone, eating slowly, using her one hand with practiced skill. Aaron walked past, then paused. He felt a question rising inside him, though he did not know if it was right to ask. But he also felt that if he did not ask, the question would stay with him forever. He stopped by her table. "Do you mind if I sit here?" She looked at him again with those silver eyes. For a moment, silence hung between them. Finally, she nodded. Aaron sat. They ate in silence at first. Then Aaron said, "I have seen you working. You manage well, even with one hand. That cannot be easy." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "It is my way. My people do not hide from pain. We endure." Adada. He respected her answer. "May I ask your name?" "Nira," she said. "I am Aaron. I work here as an engineer. If you ever need something repaired, I can help." She studied him, as if trying to decide if his offer was real or only polite words. Finally, she said, "My people do not ask for help. We survive by our own strength." Aaron gave a small smile. "Then perhaps you and I are not so different. I also prefer to solve problems with my own hands. But sometimes two minds are better than one." Nira said nothing more. But he noticed that her eyes softened a little, as if she found something unexpected in his words. Days passed, and their paths crossed again. Nira often visited the workshop area, where travelers repaired small machines or traded spare parts. She would stand quietly, watching, learning. Aaron sometimes worked there, and he saw her interest. She did not speak much, but when she asked a question, it was sharp and clear. "Why does this machine need balance weights?" Why does this engine hum when idle? Aaron answered patiently. He realized that she was not only surviving, but seeking knowledge. Still, her missing hand limited her. Once, she tried to turn a heavy bolt, and the wrench slipped. The tool fell to the ground with a clang. Aaron picked it up and handed it to her. Perhaps I can make an easier tool for you, he said. Her face grew still. You cannot give me what I lost. Aaron did not reply, but the idea stayed in his mind. He had repaired ships and drones, built mechanical arms for machines, even created new parts when none existed. What if he could make something for her? Not a replacement in the true sense, but something that gave her strength again. From that day, he began to think differently. Every time he saw her struggling, his mind designed shapes and gears. He imagined a hand of metal, light but strong, connected to nerves, able to move with thought. He wondered if it was possible for human technology to connect with her alien body. The challenge excited him, but he also knew one thing clearly. If he ever tried, it would not be for pity. It would not be charity. It would be a work of respect, a bridge between two beings. Nira, however, did not know his thoughts. She continued to live quietly, always hiding her missing hand beneath her cloak. She carried herself with pride, yet Aaron could sense the hidden weight she bore. One night, as Aaron walked through the station's outer deck, he saw Nira standing near the viewing glass, staring into the endless stars. She did not move when he approached. The stars are quiet tonight, Aaron said. She answered softly, They always are. It is we who fill them with noise. He looked at her, then asked gently, Do you ever think of your home? Her silver eyes grew distant. My home is gone. Raiders burned it. In the fire, I lost many things. My hand was only one of them. Aaron stood silent. He realized then that her loss was deeper than he had imagined. She was not only surviving without a hand, but surviving without a world. For the first time, Nira turned her face fully toward him. Why do you speak to me, human? Others pass me by. They see me as broken or as a stranger. Yet you ask questions. Why? Aaron thought for a moment, then said, Because I see more than what is missing. I see what remains, and what remains is strong. Nira's expression did not change, but her eyes softened once more. She looked back at the stars. Perhaps you are different from the others. Aaron did not answer. He stood with her in silence, watching the stars stretch across the dark. In that silence, something fragile began to form between them. The next morning, Aaron woke early, as he always did. The frontier station was quiet at this hour, with only the faint hum of life support and the occasional ship docking far away. Aaron preferred mornings like this. There was a stillness that let him think clearly, and today his thoughts were full of Nira. He had watched her for days. He had seen the careful way she moved, the way she adapted to tasks that seemed impossible with one hand. He had seen the grace in her movements, and he had also seen the struggle. Every day she carried supplies, repaired tools, and cleaned her small living space, all with remarkable skill. Yet, he noticed the frustration when things slipped from her grasp or when her movements were limited by her missing hand. Aaron had repaired machines of all kinds, from broken engines to intricate robots. He knew how parts worked together, how gears and circuits could respond to human commands. But this was different. Nira was alive. She was alien. Her body moved and responded in ways that machines could not. And still, he felt that with careful design, he might help her regain a kind of freedom she had lost. He walked to his workshop, a small area cluttered with spare parts, wires, and tools. A low table was covered with sketches of engines and mechanical hands he had built for machines. Aaron picked up a notebook and began to draw shapes and connections. At first, the lines were simple. A hand, 5 fingers, joints that could bend, a mechanism that could respond to nerves. But as he sketched, he realized it could not be simple. Nira's body was not human. Her muscles worked differently. Her nerves were unlike anything he had studied. And the energy in her body had a faint glow that machines did not have. Still, Aaron's mind worked like a puzzle. He loved challenges, especially the ones that seemed impossible. He imagined a hand that could sense her thoughts, respond naturally, and allow her to grasp, hold, create with two hands again. He sketched diagrams of tiny sensors, flexible joints, and lightweight materials that could move almost like skin. His excitement grew. He had done repairs before, but this would be a creation unlike anything he had built. Later that day, Era entered the workshop quietly. She was curious, though she rarely showed it openly. She had noticed Aaron working tirelessly on small projects, always thinking, always adjusting. Now, she watched as he held up a sketch. "I am thinking of a design," Aaron said carefully. "Something that could help you. A mechanical hand." Nira's silver eyes widened slightly. "You cannot give me what I lost," she said softly. "I am not trying to replace what you lost," Aaron replied. "I want to create something new. Something that allows you to work and move without limits." She hesitated. Her species valued endurance and strength through struggle. Accepting help was not easy. And yet, there was a spark of curiosity in her eyes. "And if it fails?" She asked. "It might," Aaron admitted. "Many things fail before they succeed. But if I do not try, I will never know." Nira studied him for a long moment. "Why do you care so much about me?" Aaron smiled faintly. "Because I see strength where others see weakness. I see you not what is missing. That is why I care." Her expression softened, just a little. She did not speak for several seconds. Finally, she said, Perhaps I will allow it. But only if it is your choice, not pity." "It is my choice," Aaron said. "And I promise, it will not be pity. It will be respect." From that day, Nira visited the workshop more often. She watched Aaron as he worked on sketches, metal pieces, and tiny circuits. Sometimes she asked questions. "Why do you make the joints like that? How will this part move with the fingers?" Aaron explained patiently. Sometimes she tried to test small prototypes, holding them in her one hand, flexing her fingers, and giving feedback. Each attempt, each small test, brought them closer together. Aaron quickly realized that the hand would need more than metal and gears. It would need sensors to detect Nira's nerve signals, flexible joints to move naturally, and a design that could adapt to her movements. He spent long hours studying her motions, taking notes, and adjusting designs. He experimented with light materials, tiny motors, and energy flows that could connect with her alien physiology. Nira, for her part, began to understand the effort Aaron was putting in. She had always been self-reliant, but seeing his determination made her curious about what could be possible. She noticed small changes in the way he worked, the careful measurements, sketches that shifted as he improved designs, and the patient way he explained each part to her. Slowly, she began to trust him. One afternoon, while working together, Aaron held up a small prototype. "This is the first step," he said. "It is light, flexible, and it should respond to simple motions." Nira examined it. She flexed her remaining fingers to test the control. "It is strange," she said. "It does not feel like my hand, but I can sense it, as if it is alive." "That is the goal," Aaron replied. "It must feel alive, not like a machine you wear. If it works well, you will forget it is not your hand. Your mind will guide it naturally." They worked in silence for hours, testing and adjusting. Aaron added small sensors, tiny motors, and a network of wires that could carry signals. Nira learned to control each movement to adjust strength and precision. At first, it was awkward. Sometimes the fingers bent the wrong way, sometimes the grip was too strong. But with every adjustment, they improved. Aaron felt a growing excitement. He had never worked on a project that mattered so deeply, not just to a machine, but to a living being. Nir, too, felt the change. She had lived for so long with one hand, always adapting, always struggling. And now, for the first time, she imagined a life where she could do more, where she could work without constant limitation. The thought was both thrilling and frightening. She had learned to survive without help. Now she was learning to accept it. At night, Aaron returned to his small room above the workshop. He could not sleep. His mind replayed every movement, every adjustment, every test. He thought about the possibilities, the challenges, and the responsibility. Creating a hand for a living being was unlike repairing a machine. There was no room for careless mistakes. He understood that every detail mattered. Every decision could affect Neera's life. Neera, in her own room, did not sleep easily either. She had watched Aaron work for hours, seen his dedication, and felt a strange sense of hope she had not experienced in years. For so long, she had thought her life was limited. For so long, she had believed she must endure alone. Now she was beginning to imagine something new, strength not from struggle alone, but from a bond with another being. The next morning, Aaron called Neera to the workshop. He held up a new prototype, larger and more complete than the first. "This one is closer," he said. "It has joints for each finger, sensors for control, and a structure strong enough to hold tools and objects. It is not perfect, but it will show what is possible." Neera reached out her remaining hand. Her movements were careful, cautious. She felt the weight, tested the balance, and flexed the joints. Slowly, she began to move the fingers in small gestures, lifting a tool with ease she had not known in years. Her silver eyes widened. "It moves with me," she whispered. "Yes," Aaron said, smiling. "It listens to you. Not me, not anyone else. Only you." For the first time, Neera felt something beyond survival. She felt possibility. She felt that the limits she had accepted for so long could change. She felt that she could do more, create more, and perhaps even live differently. The idea had taken root in both of them. Aaron would build, adjust, and improve. Neera would guide, test, and learn. Together, they were creating something new, something that neither human nor alien had seen before. And in this process, a quiet understanding grew between them. Respect, trust, and shared purpose began to form. As fragile and precious as the new hand they were shaping, Aaron looked at Neera and said, "This is only the beginning. We will make it stronger, more natural, more like it belongs to you." Neera nodded, a small smile appearing on her face. "Then we will try together. I will not hide from what comes next." And so, the project began in earnest. Not a simple repair, not a gift, but a creation born from skill, curiosity, and a shared vision. Aaron and Neera were no longer simply engineer and visitor. They were collaborators on the edge of possibility, reaching beyond what was known, daring to create a hand that could change a life. The frontier station hummed quietly around them. Ships came and went. Travelers passed, curious but unaware of the work taking place in the small workshop. And within that quiet space, two beings from different worlds took the first steps towards something extraordinary. A bond forged in respect, ingenuity, and hope. Days turned into weeks, and Aaron and Neera spent long hours in the small workshop at the edge of the station. The work was difficult, but both found themselves absorbed in the challenge. Every day brought new problems to solve. How to make the hand lighter. How to improve the joints. How to make the sensors more precise so Neera could control the movements naturally. Each obstacle was a test of patience, skill, and collaboration. At first, Neera had been cautious. She watched Aaron carefully, moving slowly around the equipment, touching tools only when necessary. She asked questions about the designs, sometimes testing small prototypes with her one hand. Each time a prototype failed, she did not complain. Instead, she observed, learning from the failure, noting how the machine moved or how the parts responded. Her sharp mind noticed things Aaron might have overlooked. Aaron admired her attention to detail. Many humans had worked in workshops before, but few had the patience and precision Neera showed. She could detect tiny misalignments, subtle differences in balance, and even how the sensors responded to small muscle signals. Her alien body was different from a human's, and her movements were elegant, precise, and yet adapted to her own strength. Aaron realized that to create a hand that truly belonged to her, he needed to listen to her, not just design. Their conversations became longer. Neera asked about human engineering, about materials, and about the principles behind the designs. Aaron explained the concepts as simply as he could, careful not to overwhelm her. Sometimes he demonstrated how gears moved, how sensors detected electrical signals, and how motors could mimic human muscles. Nira watched intently, her eyes reflecting curiosity and a rare excitement. One afternoon, Aaron held up a new set of metal fingers for the hand. "These are lighter," he said. "They bend more naturally. Try moving them like this." He guided her one hand carefully, showing her how to control the joints. Nira hesitated. "It feels strange," she admitted. "I am not used to thinking about a hand that is not mine." "That is natural," Aaron said gently. "At first, it will feel strange. Your mind will need to adjust, but it will learn. And when it does, the hand will feel like a part of you, not a tool." She flexed the fingers slowly. They responded to her tiny movements. For the first time, she felt a faint sense of possibility. "It listens," she whispered. "It really listens." "Yes," Aaron replied. "Your body guides it. You are the master. I am only the builder." Over the following days, they began to experiment more actively. Aaron adjusted small parts, tightened joints, and improved sensors. Nira tested the hand constantly, lifting objects, holding tools, and moving in ways she had not been able to for years. Some days were frustrating. Sometimes the hand did not respond. Sometimes it moved too quickly, and sometimes it bent awkwardly. But each failure brought lessons. Together, they learned which materials were best, which designs allowed smooth motion, and how to connect the sensors to her body more effectively. As the work continued, a quiet bond grew between them. Aaron admired Nira's strength, her focus, and her resilience. She had survived more than most, yet she remained gentle, thoughtful, and patient in the face of difficulties. Nira, in turn, noticed Aaron's patience, his careful hands, and his dedication. He never rushed her, never mocked her mistakes, and never treated her as someone broken. She began to trust him not only because of his skill, but because of his respect. One day, after several hours of testing, Nira sat quietly, holding the hand in her remaining hand. "I never thought it would feel possible," she said softly. "I have been alone for so long. I thought I could survive only with myself." Aaron nodded. "You can survive, but surviving is not the same as living. This hand is not about replacing what you lost. It is about giving you choice. Freedom to move as you wish, to work as you want, to create again." She looked at him, her silver eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and caution. "And you? Why do you care? You do not need to do this." "You could ignore me. Care because I see what others do not," Aaron replied. "I see you, not what is missing. And I believe that what you can do with two hands again will be incredible. I want to help because I know you are worth it." Nira studied him in silence. Finally, she extended her remaining hand and touched the prototype gently. "Then we will continue," she said. "Not because I need help, but because we can do it together." From that day, their work became more synchronized. Aaron designed, adjusted, and built. Nira tested, guided, and suggested improvements. Each small success built trust. Each failure strengthened their collaboration. She began to speak more openly, asking about human inventions, sharing stories of her home before the attack, and explaining details about her species' physiology. Aaron listened carefully, learning how her muscles, nerves, and energy flowed. He adapted his designs based on her feedback, making the hand lighter, faster, more responsive. One evening, after a long day, Aaron watched Nira lift a heavy object with the prototype. She smiled faintly, a rare expression he had seen only a few times. "It feels alive," she said. "That is the goal," Aaron said. "A hand that feels alive, that responds naturally, that becomes a part of you." They sat quietly, the workshop filled with the faint hum of machinery and the soft glow of lights. Outside, ships came and went, travelers passed, and the frontier station continued its steady rhythm. Inside the small workshop, something extraordinary was happening. Two beings from different worlds were learning to trust each other, to work together, and to create something that neither could have achieved alone. The bond between them was subtle at first. A shared glance when a prototype worked, a quiet word of encouragement, a careful adjustment of a sensor. Each moment built confidence, not only in the hand, but in each other. Aaron realized that he no longer saw Nira as just a project. She was a collaborator, a teacher, and a friend. Nira realized that Aaron was more than a human engineer. He was someone who saw her, respected her, believed in her abilities. One day, Nira arrived at the workshop carrying a small broken tool. "Can you fix this?" she asked, holding it out. Aaron took it, examined it, and smiled. "Yes, but perhaps you can help me too." Together, they repaired the tool. Nira learned the way Aaron approached problems, his methods, and the care he took in each step. She began to offer suggestions, sometimes noticing issues before Aaron did. Their collaboration deepened. The line between teacher and student blurred. Each learned from the other. Each discovered new strengths. The hand progressed steadily. Small improvements made large differences. Aaron added flexible joints for finer movements, improved the sensors for faster response, and refined the design so it could withstand weight and pressure. Nira practiced controlling the hand, learning to lift objects, hold tools, and even manipulate delicate instruments. She grew more confident, her movements more precise, her gestures more natural. With trust growing, they began to share more than just work. Nira told Aaron stories of her childhood, of her home before the attack, of her people's traditions and beliefs. Aaron listened, fascinated. He learned that her species valued endurance, balance, and harmony with nature. She had been trained to survive, to adapt, and to endure pain without complaint. Her missing hand was only one of many challenges she had faced. Aaron shared his own story. Of life on the frontier, of his work on ships and machines, and of the quiet satisfaction he found in creating and repairing. Nira listened, surprised by his patience and calm. She realized that this human, who spoke so little, understood more than she expected. He respected not only her strength, but her mind. One afternoon, as sunlight filtered through the workshop windows, Nira flexed the latest prototype with increasing ease. She picked up a small cup and held it steadily. "It is working," she said quietly. "I can feel it. I can move it as if it is mine." Aaron smiled. "You are learning quickly. Soon, you will not need to think about it. Your mind will guide it naturally." Nira's eyes reflected wonder and determination. "Then we will continue. We will make it perfect. Not because I need it, but because we can achieve it together." And so, day by day, the hand evolved. Failures became lessons. Successes became milestones. Trust between the two grew deeper, unspoken yet firm. Aaron and Nira had begun not only to create a tool, but also to forge a connection that transcended worlds by the end of the week. The hand was lighter, more flexible, and more responsive. Nira could lift small objects, grasp tools, and manipulate delicate instruments. Each day brought small victories. Each small victory built confidence, and each confidence strengthened trust. They had crossed the first threshold of their journey: understanding, collaboration, and mutual respect. Aaron realized that trust was not built by words alone. It was built by patience, by listening, by respecting limits, and by celebrating progress. Nira realized that trust could exist beyond survival, beyond caution, and beyond fear. Together, they were learning not only to create a mechanical hand, but to discover the power of cooperation, respect, and shared purpose. The frontier station continued its rhythm outside. Unaware of the quiet revolution inside the small workshop, ships docked, travelers came and went, and life continued. But within that small room, two beings from different worlds were shaping something extraordinary. Something that would change more than just a missing hand. They were shaping a bond that neither could have imagined. The morning sunlight spilled into the workshop, highlighting the small piles of tools, scattered wires, and carefully arranged metal parts. Aaron stood at his workbench, adjusting a tiny joint for the new prototype. The hand was almost complete. Each day of effort, each test, and each adjustment had led to this moment. He could feel excitement building, but he also felt a deep responsibility. This was no longer just a project. It was a bridge between two worlds. Nira entered quietly as usual. She moved with a calm confidence that came from weeks of practice. Her silver eyes reflected the soft glow of the morning, and her remaining hand held a small tool for testing. "Is it ready?" she asked. Aaron smiled faintly. "Almost. I made final adjustments last night. We need to see how it responds today." Nira nodded and placed herself near the workbench. She unwrapped the cloth covering the latest prototype. It was sleek, light, and surprisingly delicate looking, yet Aaron had designed it to withstand weight and pressure. The fingers were finely articulated, each joint capable of smooth movement. Sensors and tiny motors were integrated to respond to the unique signals of Nira's body. "You will guide it with your mind," Aaron said gently. "I only provide the structure. You give it life." Nira took a deep breath and extended her remaining hand. She placed her stump carefully against the connector, feeling the cool metal touch her skin. She flexed slightly, and for the first time, the hand responded. It moved with her intent, fingers curling, opening, and adjusting naturally. Her silver eyes widened. It moves," she whispered. "Exactly as I imagine," Aaron nodded. "That is the goal. Not just movement, but control. You decide how it acts." For hours, they tested the hand together. Nira lifted tools, manipulated small objects, and adjusted delicate parts of other machines. At first, her movements were cautious, deliberate. Each flex of a finger, each twist of the wrist was carefully measured. Sometimes the hand moved too quickly, sometimes it lagged slightly. But Aaron adjusted sensors and motors in real time, teaching her how to guide it more effectively. By afternoon, Nira was lifting heavier objects. A crate of spare parts, once impossible for her to manage, was now in her grasp. She held it steadily, moved it across the room, and placed it gently on a table. The other people in the workshop paused to watch, whispering among themselves. Many had ignored her before, seeing only a woman with one hand. Now they saw her handling weight and tools as if she had never lost anything. Aaron observed her with quiet satisfaction. "You were doing better than I expected," he said. "Soon, the hand will feel like a part of you." Nira looked at her new hand, flexing each finger slowly. "It feels natural," she said. "Not heavy. Not foreign, just mine." The sense of possibility grew with each movement. Nira experimented further, lifting delicate instruments, holding thin wires, and adjusting tiny screws. The precision amazed her. She had feared that a mechanical hand would be clumsy or awkward, but it responded to her subtle muscle signals perfectly as they worked. A small crowd gathered outside the workshop. Travelers and station workers had heard about the unusual project and came to see the result. Aaron and Nira ignored the attention, focusing on the tests. Yet Nira felt a quiet pride. She had survived for years without a hand, and now she could do things she had thought impossible. The onlookers began to whisper. Amazed at the skill and precision she displayed, Aaron guided her through more complex tasks. "Now, try holding this tool while tightening the screws over there," he instructed. Nira followed his directions, and the hand responded perfectly. She lifted the tool, positioned it, and completed the task with grace. She felt a thrill of accomplishment. This was more than survival. This was mastery. Later, Aaron had an idea. "Try drawing with it," he suggested, handing her a small piece of metal she could use as a makeshift canvas. Nira hesitated, then carefully flexed the fingers, guiding a small stylus. Slowly, lines appeared on the metal. Straight, curved, precise. Each motion was smooth, each stroke deliberate. Aaron watched, impressed by her adaptability. "It feels like magic," Nira said softly, eyes shining. "Like I have always had this hand and I only forgot." "That is exactly how it should feel," Aaron said. "Not like something added to you, but like it belongs to you." The afternoon passed in a blur of tests, adjustments, and small successes. Nira learned to manipulate complex tools, lift heavy crates, and perform precise actions that would have been impossible just days before. With each success, her confidence grew. She moved faster, thought faster, and began to trust the hand as a true extension of her body. By evening, the workshop was filled with quiet satisfaction. The sun was setting outside, casting long shadows across the scattered tools and the gleaming metal of the new hand. Aaron and Nira paused, looking at each other. There was a sense of accomplishment, but also a quiet awareness that this was only the beginning. "You have done more than I imagined," Aaron said. "The hand responds beautifully and you control it naturally. I think it is ready for real-world tests." Nira flexed her fingers one last time, testing each joint. She felt a strength she had not known in years, a control that was almost intuitive. "Then I am ready," she said. "I want to see what I can do with it beyond the workshop." The next day, they began small practical tests outside the workshop. Nira lifted crates, repaired machinery, and helped other travelers with tasks that would have been difficult before. Each success drew admiration. People stopped noticing that she had lost her original hand. All they saw was her skill, her precision, and her determination. Aaron watched quietly, a quiet pride swelling inside him. He had designed and built the hand, but the true magic was Nira's adaptation. She had learned to trust it, to guide it, and to make it an extension of herself. The combination of technology and determination had created something remarkable. One afternoon, while repairing a small ship engine, Nira turned to Aaron. "I never thought I could do this again," she said, smiling faintly. "I thought my life would always be limited. But this changes everything," Aaron nodded. "It is more than a hand. It is freedom. And it shows what can happen when skill, trust, and courage come together." Nira flexed the fingers slowly, testing their strength. She lifted a heavy panel from the engine and held it steadily, adjusting it into place. Aaron observed carefully, making minor adjustments to ensure the hand could withstand pressure and movement by the end of the day. Nira was performing tasks that would have been impossible even a week ago. The hand moved smoothly, responded instantly, and allowed her to work with ease. She felt a thrill of accomplishment and a sense of possibility she had not felt in years. Aaron and Nira spent the evening reviewing the day's tests. Each success was noted, each minor flaw discussed, and plans were made for further improvements. The hand was functional, but Aaron knew that perfection required constant attention. He also knew that the real achievement was Nira's ability to control it naturally, to make it her own. Outside, the station continued its rhythm. Ships docked and departed. Travelers moved through corridors, unaware of the quiet revolution happening in the small workshop. But those who had observed Nira's work spread stories of her skill, her precision, and her remarkable adaptability. By the time night fell, Nira sat quietly, flexing her fingers and testing small movements. The hand felt alive, responding instantly to her thoughts. For the first time in years, she felt whole. She realized that she was no longer limited by loss. She could lift, create, and manipulate with ease. She could explore or repair, contribute in ways she had thought impossible. Aaron watched from across the workshop, quietly proud. The hand was more than metal and sensors. It was the result of collaboration, patience, and trust. It was a symbol of what could happen when different worlds worked together toward a common goal. "Tomorrow," Aaron said softly, "we will test it in more challenging situations. But tonight, enjoy what you have achieved." Nira smiled faintly. "I will," she replied. "It feels like a new beginning." And in that moment, both of them understood the significance of their work. The hand was no longer just a mechanical tool. It was a living extension of Nira's strength, determination, and courage. It had passed every test in the workshop, adapted to her movements, and proven that technology and willpower together could achieve remarkable things. As they left the workshop that night, the frontier station hummed quietly around them. Nira flexed her new hand, testing movements under the soft glow of station lights. She felt a thrill of possibility, a sense of control, and a confidence she had not felt in years. Aaron walked beside her, quietly observing. Knowing that the journey was far from over, but proud of what they had achieved so far, the hand had come to life, and with it, A new chapter for both Nira and Aaron had begun, a chapter of freedom, trust, and the remarkable power of human ingenuity combined with alien resilience. The morning sun rose over the frontier station, casting warm light across the metal surfaces and the quiet corridors. The station had begun to hum with activity. Ships docked, travelers moved between markets and workshops, and life continued in its steady rhythm. For Nira and Aaron, however, the day was different. Today marked the first true test of the hand outside the workshop. In the real world of challenges, tasks, and unexpected situations, Nira flexed her new hand carefully, feeling its smooth movement, the gentle resistance of the joints, and the precise response to her thoughts. It was no longer strange or foreign. It felt like a natural part of her body, as if it had always been there. The thrill of possibility filled her chest. She had spent weeks learning, practicing, and testing. Now, she was ready to prove to herself just how capable she had become. Aaron stood beside her, quietly observing, his hands folded across his chest. He had prepared a series of practical tasks for Nira, lifting heavy objects, repairing machinery, handling delicate instruments, and assisting travelers in need. Each task was designed to push her skills and test the limits of the hand. But Aaron also understood that the real measure was not speed or efficiency. It was confidence, adaptability, and the ability to trust the hand completely. "Are you ready?" he asked gently. Nira nodded, her silver eyes bright. "Yes, I want to see what I can do." Their first task was to repair a broken cargo loader at the station's dock. The machine had been out of order for weeks, and workers had struggled to lift heavy crates without it. Nira approached the machine confidently, flexing her hand and adjusting the joints. She could feel the weight, the balance, and the resistance with every movement. Aaron stood nearby, ready to advise but not interfere. With precise motions, Nira lifted a heavy panel from the loader, held it steadily, and adjusted it into place. Her fingers moved with grace and control, guiding bolts and connectors exactly where they needed to be. Workers gathered around, whispering in awe. They had seen Nira before, struggling with one hand. Now, they saw her handle machinery as skillfully as any human engineer or station technician. Aaron watched, quietly proud. "You are doing perfectly," he said softly. Nira gave a faint smile. "It feels natural, like it has always been mine." Next, Aaron handed her a delicate instrument used for calibrating engines. "Try this," he said. "It requires a careful touch." Nira flexed her fingers, lifted the instrument, and began the calibration. Her movements were precise, careful, and controlled. The hand responded instantly, adjusting to her smallest muscle signals. She worked quickly yet smoothly, completing the calibration in record time. Aaron's heart swelled with quiet satisfaction. The hand was no longer just a prototype. It was a tool of true empowerment. As the day continued, Nira moved from task to task. She helped travelers unload cargo, repaired small machines, and assisted with technical adjustments on passing ships. Each success built her confidence. Each successful movement strengthened the bond between her and the hand. She realized that she was no longer limited by loss or fear. She could create, lift, manipulate, and work just as she had always imagined. The station began to notice. Travelers and workers who had once ignored Nira now paused to watch her. Some whispered to each other about her skill, others offered admiration. She did not seek attention, but she felt a quiet pride in her abilities. For the first time in years, she felt that she was fully capable, fully independent, and fully alive. During a brief pause, Nira and Aaron walked to the station's viewing deck. Ships moved across the horizon, stars beginning to glimmer faintly as evening approached. Nira flexed her hand, testing small movements, feeling the fluidity and control. "I cannot believe how far we have come," she said softly. "I thought my life would always be limited by what I lost. Now I feel free." Aaron smiled. "This is what I hoped for. Not just a hand, but the ability to live fully, without fear or limitation." Nira looked at him, her eyes reflecting gratitude and respect. "Thank you, Aaron. Not just for the hand, but for seeing me, for treating me as an equal, not someone broken." You earned this, Aaron said. I only built the hand. You made it alive, made it yours. The next few days brought more challenges. Nira assisted with repairing a cargo ship that had suffered engine damage during its journey. The work required lifting heavy panels, adjusting delicate wiring, and synchronizing mechanical components. She moved with precision, confidence, and efficiency. Aaron guided her when necessary, but she completed most tasks on her own. Travelers and station workers watched in awe as the alien woman with a bionic hand moved seamlessly. Capable of feats they had not imagined possible, word of her ability spread quickly. People began to see Nira not as someone who had lost a hand, but as someone with skill, intelligence, and determination. Children watched her with fascination, inspired by her confidence. Adults admired her precision and dedication. The frontier station, once a place of quiet work, became alive with stories of her achievements. One evening, Nira and Aaron returned to the workshop after a long day. They reviewed the tests, noting successes and minor areas for improvement. Even though the hand was fully functional, Aaron wanted to ensure it could withstand future challenges. Nira listened attentively, offering her feedback. The collaboration had grown into a partnership, each learning from the other. You have changed more than your hand, Aaron said softly. You have shown everyone here that limitations can be overcome, that strength comes from determination and trust. Nira nodded, flexing her fingers. And you have shown me what it means to be seen, to be respected, and to be helped without shame. I will not forget this. As they worked late into the night, a quiet thought settled between them. The hand was more than a tool. It was a symbol of possibility, hope, the remarkable outcomes that could arise when skill, trust, and determination came together. It was a testament to the strength of both human ingenuity and alien resilience. The next morning, Nira stood at the station's entrance, ready to travel beyond its walls. She had been invited to assist in distant colonies with repairs and construction. With her new hand, she could contribute in ways she had never imagined. She flexed her fingers, feeling strength, control, and freedom. Aaron stood beside her, quietly proud. Are you ready for this? He asked. Nira smiled. Yes. I feel like I can face anything now. She turned to the travelers and workers who had gathered. Many had helped her before, some had ignored her, and some had doubted her. Now, they saw a woman empowered, skilled, and capable. They saw someone who had overcome loss and limitations, not through magic, but through effort, trust, collaboration. Aaron handed her a small toolkit for the journey. This is for you, he said. To remember what we built together. Nira took it with care, nodding. I will remember. And I will continue what we started. As she walked toward her new adventure, flexing her bionic hand, Aaron felt a quiet satisfaction. The project was complete, but the journey was only beginning. Nira's strength, courage, and skill would now reach beyond the frontier station, inspiring others and proving that humans and aliens could achieve remarkable things together. The frontier station, hummed with life around them. But inside, Aaron and Nira had created something extraordinary. A bionic hand had become a bridge between worlds. Trust had grown into partnership. Effort had become mastery. And the quiet determination of two beings had created a story that would inspire all who heard it. Nira paused for a final look back at the workshop. She felt gratitude, pride, and excitement. She had learned, adapted, and mastered something incredible. With her hand, she was whole again, because it replaced what was lost, but because it allowed her to be fully herself. She turned, ready to move forward into the unknown. Confident and capable, Aaron watched her go, the glow of the station lights reflecting on the tools and metal around him. He felt pride, not in his own work alone, but in what they had achieved together. The hand had come to life. So had their collaboration, respect, and shared journey in the days and months to come. Nira would travel to new colonies, repair ships, and assist in construction projects. She would be admired for her skill, remembered for her courage, and respected for her determination. And everywhere she went, people would see not a woman with a missing hand, but a being empowered by ingenuity, resilience, and the remarkable strength that comes from trust, effort, and cooperation. The frontier station returned to its usual rhythm, but its story had changed. A human engineer and an alien woman had created something extraordinary. Together, they had shown that true strength lies not only in technology, but in compassion, respect, and the willingness to see possibility where others see limitation. And as Nira walked toward her new life, flexing her hand with confidence, both she and Aaron understood a simple truth. The greatest achievements come when courage meets opportunity, skill meets trust, and determination meets hope. The hand lived. So did the dream of what two beings from different worlds could achieve together.